Denisova Cave sits high in the Altai Mountains of southern Siberia. It is a place where the temperature stays near freezing year-round, preserving layers of earth untouched for 50,000 years. In 2008, archaeologists recovered a tiny fragment of a finger bone from the cave floor. It belonged to a juvenile, likely a girl between 5 and 13 years old. To the naked eye, it was an unremarkable piece of debris, the kind of artifact that usually ends up in a discard pile. The tiny fragment was sent to the Max Planck Institute in Leipzig. There, a team led by Svante Pääbo attempted to extract mitochondrial DNA from the bone, hoping to find traces of a Neanderthal. The results were unexpected. The genetic sequence was too distant to be a Neanderthal and too divergent to be a modern human. This was a separate branch of humanity that had been separated from our own for over 1 million years. This thumbnail-sized bone revealed an entirely unknown species that had vanished from the fossil record. They were named after the site of their discovery, the Denisovans. Standard history describes human origins as a clean replacement. Homo sapiens expand, and every other archaic human species goes extinct. Large-scale ancient DNA sequencing proves this is a myth. The record shows a tangled web of intersecting lines, where different human species coexisted and intermingled. The Denisovans survived alongside our ancestors, eventually dissolving into the modern human gene pool through generations of interbreeding. This ancient interaction changed our own biology. It means that human history is a record of an ongoing, intimate relationship that continues to live on within us. Despite having almost no physical fossils, only a finger bone, a few teeth, and a jaw, the Denisovan genetic footprint is massive. Their DNA traced a territory that stretched from the Altai Mountains through Southeast Asia and into the Pacific Islands. They were an established, successful species that dominated these harsh landscapes for hundreds of thousands of years before Homo sapiens arrived. One of the most extreme environments they occupied was the Tibetan Plateau. At 4,000 meters, the oxygen is so thin that most human bodies begin to fail as the blood thickens and the heart overworks. Tibetan populations thrive here because they carry a specific version of a gene called EPAS1, which regulates oxygen in the blood. For decades, the origin of this gene was a mystery. It didn't match the variations found in any other modern human group. When researchers sequenced the Denisovan genome, they found a perfect match. This specific survival trait originated in the Denisovans, not in Homo sapiens. The Denisovans spent millennia adapting to the roof of the world. When our ancestors arrived, they acquired this high-altitude trait through interbreeding, bypassing the need for thousands of generations of slow evolution. This heat map shows where Denisovan DNA remains concentrated today. Because these populations carry distinct pulses of DNA that entered the genome at different times, we know this was a recurring exchange of biology that took place across thousands of years. Significant levels of this ancestry, up to 6%, are found in indigenous Australians and Melanesians. In Papua New Guinea, these genes are among the highest found anywhere on Earth. These markers are still active today. They influence how the immune system identifies local pathogens and how the body stores fat to survive specific ancient diets. The few fragments found in a cave represent a massive genetic legacy. The Denisovans left behind a biological system that continues to dictate human health in the 21st century. We have mapped their code, but we have never looked at a Denisovan face. We have hundreds of skeletons and tools from Neanderthals. For the Denisovans, we have no definitive cave paintings, no ritual sites, and no cultural footprint left behind in the earth. It is an anthropological paradox. A species successful enough to settle half the planet and resilient enough to live at extreme altitudes left almost no physical trace of its existence. The biggest mystery is not their appearance, but how a population this widespread could vanish so completely from the archaeological record. Extinction is usually viewed as a hard stop, a species wiped out by disaster or outcompeted into silence. But the Denisovans represent extinction by absorption. This is the slow, generational blending of one lineage into another until the original group is no longer visible as a separate entity. Their presence is recorded in the lungs of a Tibetan shepherd and the immune system of a Pacific Islander. They are ancient passengers, still riding inside the cells of millions of people alive today. The Denisovans never truly died out, they simply changed form. The next video explores the other ghost populations, humans whose bones we have never found, but whose DNA still lives on inside our own cells.